Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion right here, right now, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Chocolate Sane, The One, Righteous Force, Flatzoid, and I believe that's it in G+. Good to have you all.
Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon, hello, wherever you may be. And we've also joined by a whole bunch of people in Discord, so hello to everyone in Discord.
Hey Nathan, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you? Anyway, let's do housekeeping. Can somebody... I know I've already heard from Righteous in Discord. I know it works fine. Any evidence of Earth curvature?
Not from La Jolla.
Ничего такого.
Not from Discord.
If I understand the question correctly, you're asking if a plane is curving. I don't know what's the reason for that question.
Because there's a fundamentalist religious zealot assertion that Earth is a sphere, and that would necessitate it curving in some form or another.
No, I'm sorry, it's not a sphere.
No, Earth is not a sphere. The effects of Earth curvature are merely the effects of perspective, removed from an Earth calculation that takes an R value and reifies it in existence by way of a horizon, a not actual location where the sky appears to meet the ground, and turns it into the edge of a fundamentalist religious zealot's belief in a sphere. So next time any flat earthers who may be watching this broadcast are asked where their edge is, make it plain that we'd make no assertions about the edge. They're mistaking actual realists, otherwise known as flat earthers, with fake flat earthers who are part of the Flat Earth Society, who depict an edge. Now, that's not us. The fundamentalist religious zealot globe believers, on the other hand, you definitely have an edge. You reify your edge, globe heads, into existence by way of begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, utilising a not actual location called the horizon. Like on screen now. Any evidence of axial rotation?
Ничего такого.
Нет.
Any scientific
No,
evidence of gravity?
How old do you need them to be?
Say that again.
Have you seen a hypothesis for this yet?
A hypothesis for gravity? No. No such hypotheses exist.
So it's not.
So rain and snow and leaves falling is not gravity?
How did they get up there? To fall?
I think
Did they have
smoke
to? Did they
breeze.
first have to rise from the ground in order to then fall?
Yes.
So it's kind of symbiotic relationship of what goes up must come down. Once things are in disequilibrium, they want to return to equilibrium. So it's not that we just have this magic amount of water stuck in the sky that wants to come down because of a force pulling it. It first travelled up. So you'd first need to explain why it went up, and then logically it's going to come back down again as it's in disequilibrium.
No gravity.
Well, it could be space-time bending.
But what could be? I've just covered this. The only way to make this assertion is to start with the rain in your example already in the sky, ignoring the fact that it had to get up there in the first place. So if you're going to claim a force that must make things go down, well, no, to be there, it went up. Defying all necessity for a force pulling it back down again, it's returning to equilibrium. But the globeheads will ignore the fact that it went up in the first instance. Same with a microphone. Ignore the fact you've had to pick the damn thing up and just drop it and assert gravity. Well, no, it had to get up in the first instance. It wasn't hovering mid-air and then suddenly dropped. It was picked up. A force was used to get it out of equilibrium and then return it from whence it came. That's not gravity. That's forcing something out of equilibrium into disequilibrium and then returning it.
And to add on top of that, space-time is a human concept, so you don't get any time in a cubic meter of space and you don't get any space in an hour. So that's just a human concept that does not exist anywhere else but the human brain.
That's one of my favourite questions, you know. For 1,000 debates, that's epic. How much time is there in a square metre of space? What epic question, that's so cool.
Thank you.
I don't know, when I first heard it, I was like, that's so magical. That's so cool. Because the end answer from the rumpus in that instance was, well, that's a totally illogical question. You're like, yeah. You took him in that one question where I'd failed to in about 20 minutes. Epic.
Happy to help.
Any evidence
Didn't
the distance?
you also say how much space is there in an hour?
Yeah. What's the volume of an hour then?
Epic.
Brilliant. Any evidence the distance to the sun?
No.
There's obviously a certain distance to it.
Oh, we've got Brenda in. Hello, Brenda. Did you have something to add, or have I got issues? Or have you got issues? I've tested the Discord. Seems to work.
Oh, my mistake. I had my mic.
No worries.
There's an answer to that question.
Which question? I've forgotten which one I asked. Distance to the sun?
No, how much space is how much time is in a certain amount.
Right, everybody else be quiet. Go ahead, Brenda.
S squared equals x squared plus y squared plus z squared minus c squared over t.
Define
That's the
T,
answer.
please. Can you define what T is?
T is time.
Can you show it me
Sounds like a
in
formula.
physical reality, please?
T is time.
Yes, can you show me that in actual physicality, please? The answer is no. I mean, I don't want to spend 20 minutes pissing around with this or anything, but T being time, that's a concept, not real. So you're not going to ever show me this, are you? So how much time is a cubic metre of space? Well, time being a concept, while she starts fucking talking. Can you not hear me talking, bitch? Yeah, shut your fucking bitch mouth and listen to me take apart your utter horse shit. Don't talk. You got it? Yeah, time's a concept. So you're not going to show me how much T is in this equation in actuality, are you? No is the answer. So let's not piss around with your stupidity for the next 20 minutes. You're not going to show me a concept, are you, retard? No is the answer. You can't show me that T. It's a concept.
Time is not a concept.
Yeah, it fucking is, you stupid bitch. You can't show it me in actuality. It's not a physical thing. You can't fucking weigh it. It's not a thing, you stupid cow. Show me time now, right now.
It's
show me it.
Part of the universe.
Show me it now. Show me a physical representation of time. Show it me. so I can touch it.
Well, if you have a coffee cup and it's
That's a coffee cup. I don't want you to show me something that's a coffee cup. I want you to show me time, which you cannot do. It's a concept.
It's the distance between two events.
Sorry, and you can show me that in physicality, can you? The distance between two events. That's something you can physically show me.
Yes.
No, you can show me
Yes.
a period arbitrarily assigned with a number by you elapsing. You cannot show me time in physicality. It isn't physical. It's a concept.
No, space-time is a real physical thing.
No, it fucking isn't. You cannot show me time. You cannot show me space-time. It is pseudo. The description mathematically of this concept is a fake geometry, pseudo-Riemannian force space, length, breadth, depth and time. Not real, a concept, a pseudo-geometry reified into existence by fundies like you because you're told by your priests that space-time is real. When challenged to show space-time, you can't! You can describe something elapsing over an arbitrarily assigned period that you will give it.
You know the hole in a donut? That's space-time.
You're a moron.
No, that's true.
You're
The
a moron.
hole
Shut up.
in a donut
Shut up. Don't
is
say anything
space-time.
else. Don't make me remove you. Shut up. You've got nothing more to add. You're a
Hole
moron.
in the donut,
I couldn't
Brenda.
care less.
Wow.
You're a moron. Don't
The
add
hole
anything
in
more.
the hole in a donut.
Shut
The
up.
hole
I
in
don't want to
Swiss
have to
cheese.
eject you.
Space-time.
If you want to continue spouting shite about holes in donuts, I'm going to kick you out. Last chance. Shut up. Any evidence?
No, I thought you were about debate. I thought you were about
You
fair
can fuck off
debate.
right now. You can fuck off. I was asking a new question. Now you don't get to take part. That's your problem. Stupid donut idiot. Donut hole is space-time. What a complete moron. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
No.
Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius, the presupposition thereof.
No, we got an airline
That keeps-
research pilot researcher
but-
in here. Probably going to try to talk about
I can
his curvature.
Say that again.
Say that
Thomas.
again?
I said we've got airline pilot researcher in here who's probably going to try to pipe up about his curvature.
I
Well,
don't
he's
wanna go
going
back
to
to
have a
curvature.
hard time with that because all of us have been on airplanes and we don't see what he sees.
Well, we might. Depends what he's reifying.
I ain't talking nothing to you guys. Just watch my video. Plenty of dipping the nose around the curvature, but I ain't talking to you guys.
Why are you here then?
Oh, who's
Well, what are you
Why the
doing?
hell are you here? And what curvature?
Keeping an eye on the flat derp.
You see curvature in your video, eh?
Yeah, just watch my time lapse. Airline pilot research, global on YouTube.
What's it
Nice
proving?
time lapse, dipping the nose around the curvature.
Sorry, you,
Yeah, but
Dipping the nose while going up.
already admit that you don't
you dip your
dip
nose.
your nose down.
We've covered this with you. We've already pummeled you on this. You had to use a false equivalence for what you compare your tracking versus Polaris versus your actual position, nose up. Your actual position's nose up. We already covered this with you. So what, you've just thought we've forgotten about it 2 weeks later? We're not fucking morons. We haven't forgotten that we already pummeled this shit, pulled it apart for about an hour, and eventually got you to the point where you conceded that you're actually describing nosing down because that's what you're supposed to be doing versus Polaris, but the plane's actually nosing up. You notice he's not saying a fucking word. You're just here to lie. We've already pummeled this. Have you got memory problems, airline pilot? Have you got a memory issue? You seem to have gone silent and are now talking while I'm asking you if you've got an issue with your memory. We pummeled this 2 weeks ago. You claimed you were nosing down when you were actually nosing up because you equivocated what should be happening with lights in the sky versus what your plane actually does which is nose up. Third time I've said it. Let's see if we get another stony silence.
Did you watch a time lapse?
Yo! Fuckwit! We covered this already! Your plane doesn't nose down by your own admission. We fucking pummeled this, you stupid, dumb idiot! Are you deaf? Are you having memory issues? Can you not hear me? Nose up! That's what you admitted! Hello! We already pummeled you, airline pilot. You gonna come and lie or just go silent when we point out for the 5th time that you're not nosing down as you've just claimed, incorrectly, for the 2nd time under the misapprehension that we have memory issues? We don't. We pummeled you. You gonna reply? Yeah, sit your ass back down, pilot, you utter fucktard. You haven't got proof of you nosing down. By your own admission, you nose up. So sit down, shut up. Good dog. Any evidence in the entire history of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, and astrophysics of any viable hypothesis?
Never heard of one.
That is a definite no.
Negative, sir.
Wouldn't they be listed somewhere if there was?
How could they have a hypothesis if they can't get past observation? I mean, it's dead right there in the water. All they can do is look at stuff.
These people piss me off so much. Oh, that concludes housekeeping.
Yay!
They think we forget, like 2 weeks later, that Grim V did it last, before Airline Pilot. Just thinks we've forgotten that we've absolutely ripped them a new asshole, and how painstakingly it was that we had to do it, to get to the bottom of their bullshit. And then they come back 2 weeks later and assert the exact same shite. It's just a bloody outrage. Rinse and repeat. As he addressed it, as he said, oh yeah, do actually nose up. That's in total defiance of my belief in a sphere. No, just silence and a reassertion of the total bullshit we took apart 2 weeks ago. Not a concession that he actually noses up by his own admission. That he's speaking doublespeak to get around the fact that it doesn't match the globe. No, none of that's addressed. Just a reassertion of the original bullshit that was wrong and pulled apart here by us. No wonder you don't want to talk to us and just punt your shit video. What, so you can force other people into the false misapprehension that you nose down, like declared at your beginning of your time here today? What, did you think we'd forgotten? I'm talking to you, airline pilot. Did you think we forgot? What did you take us for? Yet you're pissing down our back and telling us it's raining, airline pilot. Yeah? Do you think we'd forget? That we ripped you a new asshole? Over a very prolonged period of time? Yeah, my memory's not that bad, mate. Your planes nose up, they prove Earth's flat. They prove the complete contradiction of what you've come here to claim today, thinking we're forgetful. Your plane proves we're on a plane. Your plane noses up for the entirety of its duration of its flight across a flat surface. It's not nosing down, it's not losing altitude, it's not scrubbing off the drop, despite Polaris doing it. And you claiming that that's what the plane does, even though it isn't. Yeah, do you not, any of this swinging memories back in your head? No subtle flashbacks of us ripping this apart once already? Just silence, mate, right? Maybe assert again that the plane noses down.
Just let me know when it's my turn to speak.
Never! You arrogant fucking liar. You've asserted the same lie we took apart when you were last here. Your arrogance level is off the scale. You're not telling me about the familiarity you have of you nosing up by your own admission. You're not explaining that you're sorry that you've asserted the exact same lie and are trying to direct people to your video that no doubt highlights that exact same lie that we took apart the last time you were here. So when do you get to speak? Never, you disgusting human being. We've already taken your shite lie to pieces based on your misapprehensions and your false equivalence with what a star does. Any of this bringing back any memories? Yeah, you can reply. I give you permission.
And then he said his plane was flying level to gravity, which he still hasn't been able to define. So
It wasn't. That's not true,
I
though, is it?
remember that.
Regardless of his assertions, he's nosing up. He made that clear with the degrees it was doing it by, but just gave us a false equivalence with what it should be doing based on what Polaris does, and then said that's all because of gravity. Who gives a shit what he asserted? The plane's nosing up by his own bloody admission.
I'll give that one to Chocolate, man. He did just correctly identify exactly what the guy said. Well done.
That's his autopilot.
Hey.
So none of us have forgotten, Airliner, that you've already been pummeled on your claim that you made here just for the second time.
Then I think at one point he did say his plane was pitching up while nosing down at the same time or something.
Yeah, it's a complete contradiction.
Hello.
Nathan, I hope you don't mind. I've given Rumpus a link because we were chatting offline and got lost to time. But Rumpus thinks that in a vacuum chamber, if you have a vacuum, he thinks a pressure gradient, a pressure gradient would form in a vacuum. He doesn't think that it would fill the available volume. Does anybody think about that? Does anybody agree with Rumpus?
No.
Right.
Say that one more time.
Okay, here we go. Let me explain it carefully. If you have a vacuum chamber that is tall enough, let's say 60 miles, at the top of the vacuum chamber, when you've pumped in, however amount of gas you want to, well, especially put in a pressure, right? If you put it in at atmospheric pressure, at the top of that 60-mile vacuum chamber, there'll be a near vacuum.
Doesn't have any evidence to support the assertion. It's based in theoretical physics, but he
Absolutely
thinks it's
not.
true.
Absolutely not. It's based in experimentation. If, for instance, you take if you take a high altitude balloon in the atmosphere and do this effectively the same thing, because effectively the atmosphere is a 60-foot tall container. Well, not container, but 60 foot tall anyway. If you then, as we hopefully no one is denying in this hangout, the pressure at the top is near a vacuum, and therefore exactly the same thing would happen in a vacuum chamber if you filled it with a similar density of gas as there is in the atmosphere. It would also form at the top near a vacuum. But for a small chamber that's close to the ground, it's only say a foot or so in dimensions, the difference between the top and the bottom, because the pressure gradient that occurs in the atmosphere and also occurs in any gas that's in the Earth's gravitational field, we have instruments that can detect what is effectively is a little bit of pooling going on at the bottom of a vacuum chamber. If you fill it with gas, the density and the pressure at the bottom of your chamber will be very, 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 very slightly denser than, say, a foot above it. And we've got sensors that are sufficiently sensitive to detect this. And in fact, Toady has actually had one of these. It's so sensitive that if you raise it up by just a few centimeters, it can tell you how much you've raised it up by the pressure difference in the air. That's how.
What about in a vacuum?
But same would happen. The atmosphere is in a vacuum. It's no different. A vacuum chamber that you filled that was 60 miles high would behave exactly like the atmosphere.
But we know what happens when a vacuum is exerted, when a vacuum and an air mix together. Are exposed to each other. We know that there is mixing. But you're saying that's not true.
They do mix, yes, but the gravitational attraction will cause it to pool at the bottom. But in a 1 foot high chamber or any experiment you do in the lab, the difference is so small. Even if you've got 100 meters, for instance, the difference that is it's so small in the lab.
So Nathan, do you remember back in when we first started arguing over do you remember when we had the the demonstration that Rumpus had, and he had the little. We were talking about the egg. It was when the egg experiment came up at some point, and I asked him when we had the Action Labs helium balloon burst. I asked him what happens to the helium. Does it fill the available volume, or does it pool at the bottom? And his answer was, well, it fills the container. And that was Nathan's answer as well.
Because
and I thought it
container was only a foot
You're interrupting
high,
him, Rumpus.
Anthony.
Do you mind? I didn't hear the end of his statement. I appreciate that he's probably saying something devastating, but can you not interrupt him?
Well, it's just that we're at the point where we need to know what happens in the vacuum chamber when the helium balloon pops. Does it fill the available volume the way that we're told, or does it pool at the bottom and create a density gradient like Rumpus now seems to have changed his position and says it's the second?
Right, but the thing is, Anthony, because you don't understand things I tell you, I have to give you simple things. And the difference between the pooling effect is so small in the experiment that we were talking about, in that little vacuum chamber was only a foot high. Effectively, you can say, as far as you in terms of the physics or just considering it, this pooling is so small you can ignore it. But if you have a chamber that's 60, even 100 meters high, you would see the pressure gradient go.
So can you prove this though?
Sorry, so if we have a chamber
that was 60 miles high, you would have a vacuum at the top of it. Yes.
So,
can you prove it?
Oh, sorry. So we would require a chamber for this example then, a container.
Well, you wouldn't actually, because the atmosphere isn't effectively in a vacuum.
Sorry,
so
I'm not asking you to now give me your equivocation that the atmosphere does as your example does. I'm asking specifically that in your example would require a container.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, it did. You gave your example. It had a container. It was 60 miles high. And for your example to work, you described what would happen in that container that is 60 miles high. Now, I appreciate that at some point you're going to simply equivocate that the atmosphere is the same as the chamber, but I'm not going to let you, because I'm just going to simply point out that your example requires a container. It's that simple, Rumpus. Now, I appreciate that while I've given this description, you've talked through every single word I've said, preventing anybody in the hangout hearing me. And for that reason, I'm going to have to take action to stop you from doing that. Once I've finished, I'll open the mic and assess whether or not you've listened to what I've said. And if you haven't, I'll just choose to assume that you're not involved in engaging in actual conversation and instead only interested in obfuscating every single word I say. So let's see how that goes.
Rumpus, nobody can kick him.
Rumpus, just have a freaking back and forth, man.
But he doesn't do that, Chocolate, does he? He's not
Anthony,
interested in debate.
Anthony, if you can hear me,
point.
Anthony,
He said
I'll have
I
to start a
inquired
new
of the man, and I
hangout
said I don't.
because your
He
guest has
ignored
brought
that.
with him total chaos.
He
So I'll
doesn't
have to
allow
start
a
a new
debate.
hangout. I have no option. Audio chaos will ensue if I don't take action. What a crock of crap. Ultimately, Rumpus's example has the use of a 60-foot or 60-mile or 100-mile container. And without the container, there can be no pressure. Now, as described while he was here rumpusing the living hell out of me, he will at some stage be making that false equivalence that the atmosphere is the same as his container example. However, without the container, there can be no pressure. I appreciate that Rumpus needs to obfuscate that at every opportunity, and the moment I started to intervene and discuss that matter, Rumpus had to talk non-stop. It was the only tactic to stop the destruction of his false equivalence coming to pass. Stop Nathan's words at all cost. The only tactic Rumpus now has. Never mind, it's unfortunate that that's their only tactic and they don't have anything other than a fallacy of false equivalence to offer in this example. Again, my apologies to Anthony, who has been led down this merry dance with a claimed experiment using a 60-mile container. Yeah, I think not. There was no experiment using a 60-mile container. We wouldn't have got to the stage where we got those ascertained facts from Rumpus, because he would have absolutely forbidden that from happening. Anyway, disappointing
He's
as
king
always,
idiot.
Rumpus. It's always going to be that way. Sorry, did someone want to add something from Discord?
Yeah, sorry about that. I was not trying to rumpus you. I was just trying to find a gap there. I just said that he's king idiot. The king idiot died and Rumpus took over. Meanwhile, we got a full panel here on Discord, and we've got some ballers, 5 or 6 of them.
Welcome back, The One. Welcome back, Righteous Force.
Hello.
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 Hello, 10th man.
Yeah, I just told Rumpus
Any
off.
ballers have any
Idiot.
claims to make?
Anthony's-
I
Anthony's-
guess no 2 more hours.
He contacted me on Skype. No, we're still live. Got another half an hour on this live show, at least, and then there's be an after show, and then there'll be a second show because it's a Friday. Anyway,
He said, go outside, look at the sky. There's your atmosphere without a container. Go demonstrate it. Yeah, go outside. What a stupid dialogue.
yeah, circular reasoning. Same exact thing that son of an astronaut M. Scott Veach did. They assert that you go outside and look at a gas pressure, and because I've got a fundamentalist belief that the sky is a vacuum, there's your gas pressure without a container. Circular reasoning. Now, I was addressing the fact that the only reason he was making that example to get Anthony to concede that there'd be a pooling of gas at the bottom of a 60-mile container would be so he could make a false equivalence that the atmosphere is the same as a container, with an imaginary force of gravity holding it. Whereas his example has a container, because without the container there can be no pressure. But at the point that I started to highlight that, which you guys didn't get to hear, he ensued his usual tactic of, stop the demolition reaching anybody! Talk non-stop! That's right. Oh well. It's all they've got.
Yeah, he's all out of any bullets for his side. Everything he says is circular reasoning, begging the question fallacy right from the beginning.
It's like Nathan said earlier, another one just coming here and trying to make their point no matter what.
Yeah, all they've got now is more and more ingenious ways, or seemingly ingenious ways, of working in the begging the question fallacy, or working in the false analogy, false equivalence. So in this example, take Anthony on a very long merry dance about a 60-mile container, and what would happen in it. So at some point he can say, my atmosphere does that. It's like, well, no, you're giving examples of how you can do that using a container, because without the container there can be no pressure. That's why you've got a container in your example. He just didn't get away with using that as an example of an equivalence with his atmosphere. Well, therefore the atmosphere does that because we've done an experiment with a 60-mile gas chamber. No, you're just making our point that you need a container, I think you'll find. Useless.
Well,
that was a pretty poor attempt.
What's the difference between what he said with his 60-mile container and Hillbilly Blue Balls with his long pipe and the heavier gas needing time to escape? What's the difference?
There's no difference.
Both require containment. Both have containment and are not analogous to a marble in a sky vacuum because that has no containment. But they're making their examples with containers because you need one of them. Hey, Arwin.
I'm so glad you cut
balls
their
in
legs
Discord.
off at that point, the minute the begging the fallacy starts.
Yeah, he didn't actually get to do it. He didn't actually get to the point where he was capable of saying, well, the atmosphere does that, because I started pointing out before he got a chance that was what he was going to do. I mean, that pisses them off more than anything, when I predict how they're going to segue. That really winds them up. We've all been doing this way too long. We know the arguments, how to unpack the arguments, why the arguments are fallacious, and the route that the fundy will take to make that fallacious assertion. We know every move they're going to make, to the point where we can pretty much make predictions. The last one that I've come across was in the last couple of days. It's like, why are they circle jerking to the point of total humiliation? What's in it for them? And the answer is because they want to make the assertion at the end come hell or high water. So the defence that's chopping them off at the knees before they've even made the assertion, they don't care about. They just keep making the same assertion so that they can draw the conclusion at the end. One of you's not on mute in G+. Can you pop yourself on? Go on. So yeah, they just want to circle jerk you indefinitely. They might same assertion, ask you an inappropriate or irrelevant question while you're making your devastating point that they're ignoring, so that it can keep circle jerking in the face of total humility when they're absolutely proven to be wrong, or in this case with Rumpus, backing our argument. So your example, to draw false equivalence that I'm not going to let you get to, has a container. Yeah, you need that container, don't you, for the example? Yeah, but Earth hasn't got any containment. So, yeah, this just backs our argument. That was the worst ever effort by Rumpus, because all it did was get him on the show describing what would happen in a container. Well, Earth doesn't have that. And you didn't get to make your little false equivalence, did you? Fuck you. I'm just not going to let you. Why would I? It's my show. What, you needed to make your false equivalence? You needed to make your fallacious argument? And I didn't let you? I'd go and fucking moan about the mute button. Nathan didn't let me make my false equivalence. He wouldn't let me put my false analogy out there. He wouldn't let me make my fallacious argument. He muted me. Yeah, you're damn right. I heard enough. I heard 60-mile container. Yeah, that's what I heard. You making an analogy, not experiment, with a 60-mile container. Yeah, you'll need one of them around Earth to still have gas. Shame you haven't. What's that you say? You were going to just tell me that that's how the atmosphere was, and I didn't let you? Yeah, moan about it in the comments, fundies. Yeah, I'll do it for him. Rumpus would assert that the atmosphere's like that container. There you go. I made the argument for him. Shame it doesn't have a container, though, because then it would be just like the container example he gave. And as Conspiracy Cats makes plain, without the container, there can be no pressure. Conspiracy Cats 2019. Or, Conspiracy Cats 2019, without the balloon, there is no pressure. I'll say that again. Without the balloon, there is no pressure. Analogous to containment for gas pressure is this balloon describing the containment required to have a gas pressure. So yeah, you need that container in your example. Earth doesn't have one though. Bad luck, Rumpus.
It's so obvious.
One more thing now, he will complain that you killed his Trojan horse.
It's so obvious. They start with a container, so to prove we don't have a container is so dumb.
Yeah, his sneaky little tactic, trying to get in here with the Trojan horse.
Not even sneaky. He's identifying a container.
This is the mind of the fanatical art believer.
Yeah, that backfired badly for the Globe side. It would have worked out reasonably okay had he have got an opportunity to make his false equivalence and just say, yeah, the sky's like that. The sky's like that container with solid sides and a roof. Oh, is it? No, it isn't, because if it was, you wouldn't be flying to Mars in your bullshit world of Narnia space, would you? You wouldn't be going out to the moon. You certainly wouldn't be sending probes back to take pictures of us from claimed to be Jupiter, a giant mass of gas in a vacuum. Yeah, you wouldn't be getting those pictures if we had a container around us, like that vacuum chamber that's 60 miles high, to give your analogy. Yeah, you need it for your analogy, but Earth doesn't have it, my friend. That's very unfortunate for a fundamentalist religious belief in a sphere in a vacuum now, isn't it? Because the gas would fill the space. Entropy would increase. The second law of thermodynamics absolutely applies to Earth, Rumpus, regardless of your stupidity assertions that it doesn't apply. That's just because your globe in a vacuum would need that natural law defying. But it is a natural law and will apply always, regardless of your fundy belief in a sky vacuum.
And if I can conclude on top of that, there is no time in our space here for Rumpus, or to paraphrase it, there is no space in our time for Rumpus.
Yeah, give me the weight of tea.
I can if you put it in the bag, a container.
Not TEA.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Give me the temperature of time. Give me the dimensions of it.
Dimensions are the size of Rumpus and Brenda's heads.
It's T. Come on. T, Nathan. Brenda told you already. You don't accept this answer?
Excellent rebuttal. Almost as good as Brenda's.
My donut shop sells space-time in little round balls.
You can ask these Discord participants. We got No Man, The Truth, Dougie, Bobo, Jamaican Me Crazy, and Trade. Any of you have anything to say regarding the nature of Earth? Over.
What's your vector, Victor?
So it's Friday. It's a fantastic day. We've already had donuts for space-time. A pilot talking about nose up and nose down. And then Rumpus comes on with a 60-mile container. What a morning.
Well, to be fair, I hope not echoing, but Brenda was kind of right. It is kind of conceptualized as a donut. The thing is, it's just an assumption, though. It's an assumption why the entire universe is the way that they want it to be, how they visually sort of want it to be, how they wanted it to be original. And Einstein basically just provided the math in order for them to mathematically say, it is like this. And that is gravity. And
what the heck are you talking about, Arwen?
It's talking about the lore.
That made this all arrive. The whole
what the heck are you talking about? A
mind.
Conceptualized donut hole.
Right.
As
a hole in space.
About? What space?
What
space time? Fictional, purely fictional. Nothing about it is real. But that's.
Well, then why are you talking about it?
He's saying that what she was about to describe would be the mathematical description of space-time, with Einstein's description being parroted off by her in terms of this donut. But she was being asked to show time. So I appreciate what Arwen's saying, but it's obviously got your heckles up because he's phrasing it, well, she's right. Well, no, she's going to describe something that's conceptual. That doesn't give us a physicality to it. It doesn't answer the question that was on the table, even though she's going to parrot off her rhetoric correctly, which is what Arwen's saying.
Well, I can attempt to take that next step for them instead. It's still not going to solve anything. It's just going to move the bar further down the lane.
Hey, Arwen, next time you want to do this, please start with a disclaimer. Like once they are in Narnia and they want to describe how the lights work, this is what they are taught.
He's saying if you're talking about their version of the world in which they reify, then you need to make it clear first that you're not saying she's right because actually that is what the way of the world is, but she's right in terms of how their religion describes the reification she's currently making when arguing with us, which is what was happening in that argument, regardless of whether or not she can accurately describe what Einstein came up with in his noggin.
Right, but yeah, sorry, I think I came on a little late, so I might have missed the actual question part. I just heard her out and thought like, oh, of course, Brenda. Because she got in my chat like this as well, but I just quickly timed her out.
Well, I'm not saying don't explain what they believe or how they believe it, but just start with a disclaimer as to that's the position that you're trying to take to share. You just jumped in there and said, well, she's kind of right. Well, what do you mean she's kind of right?
Yeah, I just improvised because I didn't have the full picture, because I didn't actually hear the question. I was just assuming it because it's so often the same. In this case, it wasn't. Apparently, it was asked time, and she just wrongly answered. I had no idea because I didn't hear the question when I came in.
Fair enough.
You know their argument so well, Arwen. You just jump in there and finish it. That's how good you know their argument. So you're giving a better argument than they are.
Yeah, I just, I like these toys, but they're just fooling around and breaking them, and I just like, come on, at least try to make it look a little better. That's my response at this point. It's just so bad what they do now.
Wow, that was an interesting way of looking at it. So you're saying like the heliocentric model's like an intricate piece of technical Lego, and it's got really clear instructions. It says what it's supposed to do, and once you've actually put it together correctly, it will do that. And you're watching them butcher the Lego and stick it up a hotchpotch, and you're going, the Lego's much more elegant than that.
Feels like.
Why can't you let the model
Stop sticking the Lego up your nose.
Yeah, just please enjoy the beauty. Don't ruin it. Enjoy the imagination while you still can believe it.
Yeah,
don't try to ruin it. Don't force it on other people and shit.
Their model's impressive, wouldn't you agree? It's a very well thought out, intricate. It's got a lot of what would be issues ironed out. For example, when people come to me with impossible moons, I can't remember, there might be one. I vaguely remember one, but most of the time, 99% of the time, they've got a moon that's perfectly workable on a heliocentric model with all their presuppositions in place. So their model's really elegant. After the fact, I was like, you look back at it from the outside in rather than just believing that's your world and go, wow, it's actually a really impressive feat that they've achieved with the heliocentric model.
Right.
It's not real, but,
Totally agree. I kind of see it as like an advanced, more adult Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Because that's for children, though. It's much more transparent. You'll quicker get through this. This one is very tough. It's a real tough mind puzzle. And you got to be really alert with what you've been taught. And yeah, I see.
Well,
I don't know. I think that it was originally designed as a cultural game that would basically force people at some point. It would be a test of adulthood. Like, do you understand that this is not real? That it was originally designed for that. And I'm talking about long, long ago, because the ones that have been applying it in the last century, they've gone obvious other directions, but that seems to be inherent in the design. I feel.
And some of the fakery is overt. In my humble opinion, if you can't see through some of the fakery, which is particularly bad, I'm not going to go into details of NASA fakery on the ISS or the fake moon landings, but what I will say is just go and have a look at it. And if you can't spot just how fake it is, then you're never gonna. You want to be lied to, because it is overt with those particular pieces. The model itself, in terms of its technical prowess, is far more impressive than the fakery of mere mortal men and their cinematography. That's always going to be shite by comparison. But a well thought out model and how it works within its own presuppositions, of course, isn't hidden either. Just by our own language, it's a model, right? Well, what's a model? It's not reality, and they make that plain when they tell you about the heliocentric model and how they might just change the model. So obviously they're making it plain that it's not real.
But also, to back it up a little, it's not the people that have been working on the whole thing, especially the real one, the overseers that are really making decisions for where it should go and all that. It's not. They take it very serious. Like, to them, it's like deadly serious design. It's not a toy. It's not like a game to them building that. No, it had to be perfect. It was important, or it wouldn't work. It had to be perfect. So a lot of people put a lot of energy with their intelligence into making it so seemingly flawless on the surface.
What's the biblical just 1 second, the one 10th man. What's the biblical reference about not trying to figure out what the heavens and the earth actually are? I'm sure there's a reference. I can't remember what it is.
I'll look for the one that you're looking for. But what comes to mind is, of course, my ways are not your ways. And so, the mind of God and the mind of man, there's such a vast difference between the two. So I'll look for it and I'll try to get back.
Well,
I just recall something about not, like, how does it, not imagining what is like above in the heavens and below. You familiar with that one, Tough Man?
I think
So
you and I are
above
talking
or
about the
below
same one.
that?
Righteous.
I think
As
it's
above,
going
so
to be
below
in the
that
book
you're
of,
mentioning?
I think it's going to be in the book of Job. Give me a minute.
Yeah, a lot of these things are in Job, aren't they? Like, I would incorrectly use the word sciencey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's most likely in Job because Job is being asked questions, I believe, and there's questions that he can't answer, and there are questions in the realm that he has existed in, yet he can't answer. So how much more can he really answer any questions or understand anything outside of the realm that he lives in? Type deal.
Okay. It's chapter 38. I'll just highlight some of it. I think this is what you're asking for. Then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. He said, "Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand who marked off its dimensions. Surely you know. Who stretched measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy? Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and wrapped the thick darkness, when I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place. When I said, this far you may come and no farther, here's where your proud waves halt. It just goes on and on. It's beautiful. It's like saying, where were you, Job?
That is beautiful.
Guys, can I have the mic now?
Yeah, sorry, the one. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was planning in the beginning to go with the words God has its ways, but now literally this is what happened because we started this topic. And as you know, in the beginning it may be a little bit frustrating for some people, but bear with me just for a minute. So you know that back in the days, like maybe 6 or 7 months ago, I claimed the discovery, and last night I came to the realization of it, and I put the final piece of the puzzle together. And as you stated, Tentman, that what is here, it's not what it's above there. And because we have the scientific method, we figured out what's the purity of the substance and why here and up there it's not the same. And at the end, it's turned to be the neutral charges, and actually what we've been taught our whole life about the vacuum. It's wrong. That vacuum actually, it's full of stuff and it's only a neutral charge. That's why it dissolves everything. So basically, today I managed to write the hypothesis, to finish the hypothesis, which I was working on for 3 months. So that's why I wanted to make a massive, huge, and enormous shout out and thank you to Nathan Oakley and John Quantum Eraser, because like you're the people that primarily pushed me and made this process possible. So without you and like your non-stop guidance about the stuff, that you have to be persistent and you have to be accurate and you have to apply the scientific method. So that's what made it possible for me and pushed my brain to think and to find that answer. And I think we managed to find it. So I spoke with Flatsoid last night and he had his mind blown away by what I told him. So massive shout out to Quantum Eraser and to Nathan.
So when does this information get revealed?
Well, as you know, I figured out the experiment, but the hypothesis was, to be honest, total shit. I didn't have a viable hypothesis, so I managed last night to finish it, and I wrote it today. So now I have almost everything set up for the experiment, so I'll be able to run it.
Cool. Very cool.
Fascinating.
Well, hopefully we'll find out a little
That's
bit
great,
more
man.
in the after show, but unfortunately for those of you watching on the Nathan Oakley live stream, this is going to be where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you first and foremost to all of today's debating panel for making this live show possible. Of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the live audience for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley 1980 premiering stream, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!